Good Wednesday afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Plenty of Browns news to talk about as they get ready for the Christmas afternoon game in Green Bay against the Packers a little later in the show. Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will join us, and we will talk plenty about the Browns. Some news out of Berea today. The Browns waived Jamie Gilliam. That means that Dustin Colquitt will be the punter for the rest of the season. Maybe even more. Kevin Stefanski returns to actively coaching the team. He's off the COVID restricted list. Austin Hooper, Jacob Phillips, JoJo Natson also make it off the COVID list. Greg Newsome was added to the COVID list. Kareem Hunt and Troy Hill both ruled out from previous injuries, not expected to go. But no update on Myles Garrett, that injured groin that he suffered late in the game against the Raiders. Kevin Stefanski said that the Browns would have to see how Myles is moving around before they determine if he is able to go against the Packers. Well, Kevin Stefanski able to be more actively involved back in the building as the Browns get ready for the Packers. Talked about those preparations earlier today.
We're on a short week, so we really have to go full speed ahead. Thought the guys were engaged in the meetings today. Obviously a huge challenge going to Lambeau versus a really good football team. They're well coached. They have great players, so we got to be about our business. They present challenges on offense, defense, and special teams. Obviously offensively, with Aaron Rodgers, he's playing great. He is great, so we're going to have to really hone in on ways to slow him down, and with their pass attack and run attack, it's balanced. Defensively, Joe Barry does a great job with that defense. They have some really good edge rushers. They're multiple in the back end. Jerry Gray's their defensive backs coach, who I know well from our Vikings days together, and you can see they're doing a nice job in the back end with disguise, playing multiple coverages, just doing a really nice job in coverage, and then they pressure the quarterback. They do a really nice job. They will blitz, but oftentimes they're bringing four and they're applying pressure. So we got to be really locked in this week. Like I said, on this short week, we got to make sure that we make today count, make tomorrow count, and then we'll get on the plane and head to Green Bay.
Let's welcome in Tim Bielik, a reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. And Tim, not ideal. Obviously, shorter week for the Browns than it was for the Packers due to the game being moved. But it is what it is, and it is a huge challenge. Packers are probably playing as well as anybody in the NFL right now.
No question about it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is looking as good as he's been all year long. I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now. They've put up 30-plus points in each of the last 4 games, including 31 just a few days ago in Baltimore against the Ravens. Aaron Rodgers, since he's kind of gotten the rust off from his COVID positive test, he's certainly looked, as good as we've seen him. He's always a tough matchup just because he's got such an incredible arm. He's so elusive, and you got some really good receivers out there, in particular Davante Adams, who's as good as there is in the NFL. The offensive line, I know, has been kind of makeshift for them. They've kind of had to bring guys in and out with injuries. So the Browns are going to have to find a way to create some pressure. And it's obviously unfortunate for them that Greg Newsome is in the COVID protocol, because they could really use 3 good corners to go up against that trio the Packers really like to use with Davante Adams, Allen Lazard, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling to really have 3 good corners on Rodgers' 3 targets. So that's going to be difficult. Going into Lambeau is going to be difficult, especially on Christmas when that atmosphere is going to be absolutely fired up.
Yeah, and again, they're the top seed right now in the NFC. Remember, only one team gets a bye, so there's plenty to play for the Green Bay Packers as well. Malik Jackson, Browns defensive lineman, talked about dealing with that tough loss against the Raiders on the final play of the game, as well as kind of the Browns' thoughts moving forward, still believing they have a chance.
It's our job. It's one of those things that's what we have to do. We have very quick memories, You'd be surprised how fast we forget things. So I think it's one of those things we got to go out there, forget what happened, understand the situation that we're in, and understand we can't have any more mess-ups. So that's it. Just live in the reality. Try to go to 10-7. That's the goal. I mean, we understand the position we're in. We understand we need to start helping ourselves and get some wins to put ourselves in the postseason. So, 10-7 is our goal.
And so, Tim, the way to look at this, Ravens play the Bengals. So if the Browns lose to the Packers, they're going to be 2 behind the leader in the division with 2 left to play. I mean, that's as simple as it gets.
Yeah, and that's where I think you got to, if you're a Browns fan, you got to be a huge Rams and Chiefs fan in the next few weeks. I was kind of playing around with the playoff scenarios. This isn't a game they necessarily need to win to get in the playoffs. If you do, it creates a slightly bigger margin of error. You don't need a whole bunch of different outcomes. But, I mean, the next 2 against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are absolute must-wins if you want any shot of the playoffs. And you got to hope the Chiefs sweep the Steelers and the Bengals, along with the Rams beating the Ravens. So it's still possible to make the playoffs, even if they lose on Saturday, which is certainly likely. I mean, we know that everybody knows the challenge Green Bay brings into this game, especially, you know, getting that extra day of rest compared to the Browns and playing on Christmas at home, which is, again, got to get them a little juiced up for that game. So obviously, you know, 10-7 gives you a better chance to get into the playoffs. I kind of thought that if the Browns had found a way to beat the Raiders, this is almost like this would have been a throwaway game, one that, you know, it would have been nice to have, but now that you lost to the Raiders, this is one ideally you would want to have in your back pocket just in case, you know, you need it if, say, the Steelers or the Bengals take care of and surprise everybody and take care of Kansas City. So there's a lot going into that, but the Browns can do themselves a lot of favors if they win this and get a large amount of momentum going into Pittsburgh.
Yep. Agreed that this is one that it increases the likelihood by a significant margin. If you get to 10 wins, you're much more likely to get into the playoffs than you are with 9, I think. Well, Aaron Rodgers was asked about potentially facing Myles Garrett as well as Jadeveon Clowney if the Browns are able to get both of them, and just what that would be like to deal with if you're Aaron Rodgers.
Well, if they're both playing, you can't really go away from – you got to go at one of them. I mean, but if you're running the ball, you're going to be running the ball at one of them. They're stud players. I mean, Garrett is, you know, had just a fantastic season. I mean, he's got to be mentioned as Defensive Player of the Year in that conversation. He's just a monster. I mean, he's a fantastic player. He legitimately has gold jacket possibilities in his future if he keeps playing the way he's playing for a few more years. And Clowney, you know, has been a specimen since he got in the league, and we played against him a few times over the years. Fantastic player. Just stud, long, athletic, you know, smart. So, look, you got to try and find a way to slow him down a little bit, but it's going to be a physical game. You know that when those 2 guys are on the field.
And again, Tim, still not certain if either of them are able to go, but certainly Aaron Rodgers will be aware if Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney are on the field.
I think he and every quarterback is always aware of where 90 and 95 are in any particular play. And obviously we know they're both dealing with different circumstances. Myles had the groin injury against the Raiders. We don't know, you know, his status for Saturday, if he's going to be able to go. And Jadeveon Clowney obviously going on the COVID list. We don't know if he's going to get activated in time. It's kind of outside the 10-day window, I believe, where, you know, if he's vaccinated, then he could just come back, where I think he would have to have some negative tests to come back before the 10 days. Now, the Browns have gotten some players back in the last couple of days, particularly today. Like you mentioned, Austin Hooper coming back along with Jacob Phillips. That's going to help a little bit. But if those 2 guys, Garrett and Clowney, are not able to go, that is a huge, huge loss for the Browns and puts a tremendous amount of pressure on Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams, because Aaron Rodgers could have a lot of time, especially if the Browns don't blitz with those 2 guys out there, and they could have a huge problem on their hands if one or both of them just aren't able to go.
Yeah, again, you almost, if you do not have those 2 guys on the edge, you almost have to tweak your philosophy, because if you're expecting your 4th and 5th defensive ends to help you get pressure on a guy like Aaron Rodgers, I think you're asking for a lot of trouble. You're asking for a lot of Devontae Adams at that point.
Oh yeah, no question about it. And don't forget, Takk McKinley also has the Achilles, so he's out. So again, you would be out your top 3 defensive ends if you're the Browns, if Garrett and Clowney aren't able to go. So that's a huge, huge loss if neither of those guys is available to go. And we know Garrett obviously tried to tough out the groin a little bit on Monday, but you never know how he kind of react, how severe it is. I mean, we know guys are going to play through a lot of pain. At this point of the year, everybody's playing with pain, but you don't know how he's going to react. And Clowney, I mean, he's kind of up at the mercy of, the COVID protocols. And if he can get those negative tests, that will allow him to come back. If it can, that's tremendous boost for the Browns, just to have at least one of those guys back and give you some semblance of a four-man pass rush.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Tim Bielik, reporter for the cleveland.com, as well as the Plain Dealer, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we kind of diagrammed some of the things that went wrong late in that Ravens game for the defense. We'll also hear from the Browns on closing out games. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Welcome back to Sports4CLE. Got a little pushback yesterday when I said you could blame the defense on that last drive that led to the field goal for part of the loss. You can blame the offense for not getting a first down. You can blame the special teams for not kicking the field goal that should have been made. And you can certainly point to some plays from the defense, because when they're on the field with less than a minute to go and they allow the Raiders to get a field goal that's a game winner, you can certainly blame them. Well, Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Clark break down the play I was referring to. 2nd and 11, the Raiders' final drive, second to last play that got them into field goal position. This is the X's and O's of that play from NFL Live.
What you tell your receivers is, if we catch this pass inside of the numbers, you go get as much yardage as you can. Right. We're not playing and wasting time sideline to sideline. If you catch this ball outside of the numbers, you do everything you can to get out of bounds.
Now, the problem is he shouldn't have this much space, right? We should have a guy curl flat. We should have somebody coming in from the hook, and we should have a safety or a cornerback that's topping it off. So as he gets to this point, here is what these guys have to be playing. Let it run a little bit more, Dan. We got a triangle right here. Now, out of the triangle, if I'm Denzel Ward, the first thing I'm doing, if Dan is running this football, is I'm going to attack this hip. I'm going to go long stride, short stride. I want to be here, cut that leg off. Okay. If I'm a Wusu Koromora from the inside, I'm now chasing the inside hip and tracking and going here. And if I'm Moffitt to safety, here is what I know. I used to always tell my guys, give me a window, give me a tunnel, give me a funnel, and I promise he won't get back up. Okay. He should be full speed running right down Foster Moreau here. None of those guys do those things. He gets out of bounds,
Let me ask you this.
the first down.
Defensively, they're actually in ideal, perfect
position.
This is
the perfect position.
Okay.
He should have nowhere to go.
So now, right now, you tell Foster Moreau, like you teach these big fellas, okay? This is decision-making time, because he's got to do everything intent-wise to get out of bounds. But also, you got to understand, you're big enough that even if this guy, Denzel Ward, puts hands on you there, you can carry him out of bounds. He makes a decision that he could split those guguys. Denzel Ward throws an arm out there. Those 5-6 yards.
He made a decision to be a football player. The other three people decided not to.
And again, Tim Bielik, when you look at that field goal, it was a 49-yard field goal. 5-6 yards is huge in that instance. And again, when the Browns talk about little things that have added up to losses, that's a little thing. They were in position and they didn't make the play. So, yeah, it falls on the defense at that point.
Yeah, I do think everybody kind of has a hand in it. I'm always a believer that losses are never usually about one thing. They're usually about a multitude of things. And I think, I looking at that play, that Dan Orlovsky and Ryan Clark broke down. It's kind of surprising when you look at the guys involved in it. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and Denzel Ward, you would argue, are the Browns' two best players in that back seven. So to see them not be able to make the play on Foster Moreau was really shocking. And I mean, I understand Javonte Mop is a good position, but I mean, in ideal circumstances, he's not even playing. He's in there because the Browns have about 20 plus guys out due to COVID, including two of your top three safeties. So, I mean, it's a tough situation. Obviously, Denzel did not make the best tackle attempt on that play. JOK, I mean, I thought he did kind of what he could do, but I mean, that's a miscommunication. It looked like Denzel may have been in a position where he was afraid he was going to end up tackling his own guy, but less than a minute to go in a game, you got to do whatever you can to keep him in bounds. And 6-7 yards is a big deal. I know Daniel Carlson's got a big leg though. He can knock him through from 50 plus. So, I mean, there's always a possibility that they make that tackle. They still get a 53, 54 yarder and he still makes it. 48 is much easier. And obviously that second attempt was pretty much right down the middle of the pipe. So, just kind of the way it goes. But Again, it's been emblematic of the Browns season. They've been in these games, but unlike last year, they just have failed to find that one little play they need to win them more often than not.
Yeah, fair enough. The other thing I would say, though, with 28 seconds left, you got to keep them in bounds. There's only 28 seconds left at the beginning part of that play. Got to keep them in bounds, got to make the tackle. But again, it's a little thing, just the situational aspect of understanding that. Malik Jackson, the Browns defensive tackle, talked about just kind of closing out games and what that Raiders game has kind of told them.
It's not a positive thing, but it's a good thing in the fact that it's just stop beating ourselves, executing the plays, being where you're supposed to be, and when you're called upon doing your job. Like I said, it sucks that that's something we have to focus on, but it's also a good thing that's something we can focus on because that means it's us and we can control that. And we can keep trying to control the things we can control and fix things we can fix and go out here and win games and instead of seeing the negative side of these games. So, it's what it is.
Yeah, and those are things, again, control the controllables. Those are controllables. So I get what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the old adage, big-time players make big-time plays, when they're absolutely needed. And, I mean, again, that situation, the last 3 minutes of the game, I know after the Greedy Williams interception, they had that 3-and-out. I know you can debate that third down call all day as far as offense, but the bottom line is they make that first down anyway. None of this matters. It just comes down to execution and, the players doing what they have to do on the field to make those plays. And I think that's always just part of the growth and maturation of certain teams. And I think obviously the Browns, jumping up from being 6-10 the year prior to 10-6, making 11-5, making the playoffs last season, that was quite a jump. And I think they're kind of coming back down to earth a little bit, still going through some struggles because now just they know how to get there, but they just got to learn how to finish those things off. And obviously you don't want to make a habit of losing close games because then it just becomes a spiral. And we've seen just how many times the Browns have had chances, to either get the game-winning score or to stop someone from getting the game-winning play, and they just haven't had to get it done. And in a league where talent is so close, where the top teams are not separated by that much, it's who makes those difference in those high-leverage plays more than the other guys do.
Yeah, and again, little things add up. All right, one thing we learned about each team from Week 15, this is from CBSSports.com. For the Browns, they can still make some noise down the stretch, kind of clinical. They make showed a lot of fight with the dozen-plus guys that were absent that play big roles on the Browns. So again, the one thing they learned, Browns can make some noise down the stretch. Yes, have to stop the self-inflicted wounds, have to play complementary football. And that kind of goes back to, we keep talking about complementary football. You mentioned don't make the first down. Then you fail to make the tackle in bounds, and it leads to a game-winning field goal. All of it kind of adds up to what has been a problem all season long.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just been an up and down, season as far as consistency, and that's really been the only constant outside of the injuries for this team is just the lack of consistency across the board. They just haven't been able to keep guys healthy necessarily. And when they have been, they haven't necessarily played at the level that everyone expects them to. And the only saving grace for the Browns is the fact that the AFC North has been so chaotic, this season. Obviously, the Ravens with their multitude of injuries, the Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger just no longer being able to do what he used to do, and the Bengals maybe being, a year ahead of schedule because of the way Joe Burrow's playing and losing some games they have no business losing. I mean, that's the reason the Browns are in this. If they're in a better division, like if they're in the AFC West or whatever, there's no way they're winning the division. There's no way they're getting in the playoffs. So they should be thankful that this is the division they're in right now, that the AFC North has just been a muddled mess for about the last 2 months of the season. So, I mean, that's the one good news for the Browns is as bad as the season's gone, they still have 3 weeks to fix it. They still have 3 weeks to find a way to scrape, claw, whatever it takes to get into the playoffs. And at the end of the day, if that Week 18 game against Cincinnati is a winner-take-all game, I mean, I'm sure the Browns would have signed up for that about a month ago.
Yeah, they probably would have signed up for that at the beginning of the season. If you tell me there's a one-game season in Week 18, and if we win, we win the AFC North, heck yeah, you'd sign up for that. All right, the odds to win the AFC North, and this was kind of interesting. So the Bengals are the favorite at plus 125, Ravens plus 160, the Browns third at plus 550, and the Steelers at plus 700. Now the Browns are probably that plus 550 because of the game with the Packers. The Bengals and the Ravens play each other. The winner of that, in theory, would be 2 up on the Browns unless they find a way to go into Green Bay to win. But bottom line is, that's not that ridiculous of odds. And as you've alluded to, if you're telling me to pick one of those teams, I don't know that I want to bet on any of them based on the way they've played.
No, I mean, it's almost like you could put 4 teams into a hat and then pick one, and then that's who's going to win the AFC North. That's the 2021 season in a nutshell. I mean, we're talking just as bizarre as you could imagine. I've kind of alluded to this every year to kind of how college football plays out with how chaotic it is. And this is as chaotic a season in the AFC North as I can remember. The one good thing for the Browns is they play the toughest team left of anybody else in the Packers. I know the Steelers have to go into Kansas City this week. The Bengals have to host Kansas City next week, I believe. They have to play Kansas City in Week 17. So that's where the Browns get a little help. And they got to hope that Patrick Mahomes can come through for them twice and really, push the Steelers down to a position where the Browns can essentially eliminate them in Heinz Field on a Monday night. And that even if the Bengals do beat the Ravens, that they kind of trip up against Kansas City, setting up that Week 18 game in Cleveland. And Baltimore, they still got to play Pittsburgh. They still got to play the Rams. So nobody's got an easy ride right now in these final 3 weeks of the season. Everybody's got some really, really tough games in front of them. It's just kind of one of those things where you just want to sit back and just, as the famous philosopher Terrell Owens once said, get your popcorn ready, because this is what it's all about right here.
Yeah, the schedule maker is sitting back laughing at what he did to the AFC North the final month of the season. Tim Bielik and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason about the Browns coaching late in games. We will also hear from Kevin Stefanski as well as Malik Jackson on the Browns' depleted line on the defensive side of the ball. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
Browns getting ready for a Christmas afternoon date with the Packers at Lambeau Field. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Browns coaching late in games.
All right, they took the ball away. 2 minutes and 47 seconds to go. and the Browns could not make a first down. Give me a break. This team has never won a game. Most of the time, right now, it's coaching. That guy had a mental collapse on the sidelines. You know, at least roll out with your quarterback. You know, Chubb was going to get the ball 3 times in a row, and they stacked it all up, and they ran right into the teeth of the defense. Are they insane? I'm sorry, man. I've been suffering with this for almost 70 years now, and it's got next to me, and I apologize for my outburst. Have a nice day and a Merry Christmas. Bye.
All right, we appreciate the phone call very much. Tim, I don't know how you feel about it. I have said, and you alluded to that, running Chubb 3 times, I don't have a problem with it. And the reason I don't have a problem with it is you're on your 3rd string quarterback who has had 1 complete practice. He had 1 practice running this offense. Now, if you said to me you were going to roll him out and throw, I wouldn't have had a problem with that either. But I think it's a no-win situation for a play caller in that. If you roll out and he throws it and it's incomplete, you've stopped the clock and you've given the Raiders more time. And people are going to say, why didn't you put it in Nick Chubb's hands? Put it in Nick Chubb's hands and Nick Chubb doesn't get the first down. Why didn't you throw it? I could be convinced either is the right call.
Yeah, and I mean, the play caller is at the mercy of the guys on the field. I mean, he can call the perfect play in the perfect situation, but the guys still got to go out and get the job done, and you're right. I mean, what if instead of handing it to Nick Chubb, they let Nick Mullins throw and he throws an interception? Then all the questions after the game are, well, why didn't you run it with 3 times with Nick Chubb? And then they run it 3 times with Nick Chubb. In this case, he doesn't get the first down. They were like, well, why didn't you throw it? I'm like, when you're realistic, they're like, this is a coaching staff that has an acting head coach because the regular head coach is in his basement because of COVID. You're on, like you said, they're on a 3rd string quarterback who has had 1 practice with the team. They didn't have Jarvis Landry. They didn't have Austin Hooper. You don't have Kareem Hunt. So what do you have? You have Nick Chubb. So you trust arguably the best player on your offense. Give him the football. You have your 3 interior offensive linemen back. And it's not like he had run poorly. He had some nice runs in that second half. It just came down to just, maybe just one little half step a lineman didn't take, or, maybe it wasn't the right run that they called in that situation on that 3rd down. But at the end of the day, if Nick Chubb is able to somehow get through, get a first down, or a different hole opens up, we're not talking about, what a bad decision it was to get the ball to Nick Chubb on 3rd down. All the Browns trying to say, like, man, Nick Chubb just powered his way to a win. And all of a sudden everybody's talking about how, this is one of the greatest Browns wins since they came back in 99 with 20 plus guys out. And instead it's a loss in 7-7. And like I said, the play caller is ultimately judged by hindsight, and that's a tough way to live.
Yeah. And the thing I would say, what are the strengths of what you were putting out there? The 3 offensive linemen. Give me Bitonio, give me Treader, give me Wyatt Teller, and Nick Chubb. I can't argue with putting that as what you do. And the flip side of it is, if it's an incomplete pass, you stop the clock, and then it's going to get stopped at the 2-minute warning again. So, again, I just relax with the play call on 3rd down. All right. LaFleur, the Green Bay Packers head coach, talked about what he saw from the Browns and kind of preparing for them with all the uncertainty with who's going to be, filling in for guys if they're on the COVID list. Here is the Packers head coach.
Well, I thought Cleveland they showed their resiliency. I mean, missing as many guys as they were missing, 10 starters or whatever it was, and to be able to have an opportunity to win the game, I think that tells you everything you need to know about the Cleveland Browns. They're tough, they're physical, they're resilient. They've got a lot of talent on the team. I think they're very well coached in all 3 phases. I think they have very sound schemes, and when you combine sound schemes with great coaching and great players, you usually are a pretty tough team to beat. But as far as our preparation, I think you always got to prepare for who's listed as the starters, because especially with the whole COVID situation, you don't know how quickly guys could potentially come back. So we're always going to prepare for the best players to be out there.
And again, Tim, Browns need as many of those regulars as possible. When you look at the Packers, they have 3 losses. One of them first week when Aaron Rodgers had not been ready to go against the Saints. They also lost to the Chiefs. Aaron Rodgers was a COVID victim. So they haven't lost a whole lot when Aaron Rodgers has been in a rhythm, and he is in a rhythm right now.
No question about it. Like I said, he's probably as good as he's been in a very long time. I mean, I watched that Ravens game he played on Sunday, and he was spectacular. Obviously, you know, having one of the best receivers in football, and Devontae Adams certainly helps. But, you know, he's just a special talent. He's one of the greatest to ever do it for a reason, because his arm is just special. The way he processes the game is special. And all those different things just stick out to me so much. And, you know, you're right, for the Browns, they have to hope that a bunch of guys come back from COVID. They did get good news today with, again, Hooper and Phillips coming back. Stefanski's back. So they got to hope that they can get a bunch of guys back on Thursday, on Friday, and Saturday, especially if you can get Baker Mayfield back in time. If you get him back along with Jarvis Landry, you can at least have your full complement of skilled players outside of Kareem Hunt ready to go. And then maybe you can have a better chance to go up against that Packers team, because if you have to go up against them with Nick Mullins again, they're not going to make as many mistakes and keep you in the game as much as the Raiders did. The Raiders gave them a lot of chances to get in the game. The Browns really finally took advantage of it in the fourth quarter. But again, we talked about that third down that they didn't get and that tackle on bounds that they couldn't make. The Packers are not going to let that happen. Aaron Rodgers is too good. He's been playing too spectacularly of late to let that happen. And, you know, as I've joked on Twitter, I mean, the Browns can have a lead, but no lead is safe against Aaron Rodgers. And I joked with somebody that even 2 seconds to go in the game, if you gave Aaron Rodgers the ball, I've even said that might be too much time, because he's that good, especially when you've seen some of the Hail Marys he's thrown in his career. So it's a huge, huge task for the Browns on Saturday, even if most, if not all, of those guys can come back in time.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. The other thing is the Browns' defensive line is going to be it's going to be depleted. How depleted? That's to be determined. We know Takk McKinley isn't going to play. Jadeveon Clowney on the COVID list. There was some talk that he was showing symptoms last week, which would lead you to believe he won't be able to test out. And then we just don't know with Myles Garrett. Malik Jackson, Kevin Stefanski talked about having to go with what may be a depleted defensive line.
As far as Myles go, you know, this is a next game up mentality. You know, I mean, we all play hard. You know, this is a very physical game. It's very demanding, you know, and if guys feel like they can't go, then it's the next guy up. You know, I know Myles is a warrior, and he's going to try his hardest to go and be out there and help us. And so that's what I'm expecting. But if he can't, then that's what it is. And then I expect Weaver or Porter Gustafson or whoever's up, you know, to do their thing.
A lot of those guys, Marla, have played for us at moments this season. You know, think of Porter going back to last year, making some big plays for us. And then go through this season. Afadi's made some plays, and Joe. So they've done a nice job. And if their number's called, they gotta respond.
And again, I get the next man up thing, but at some point, the next man is just not quite as good as the man in front of him.
You kind of took the words out of my mouth right there. I mean, I know they were talking last week all about next man up, but when you have 20-plus guys out with COVID and positive tests, there's only so much you're going to be able to do. There's only so many guys you can go out and grab off the street, then go out and play. The Browns were fortunate enough to at least have guys that gave them a chance to win the game. Obviously, they didn't get it done. So to get at least a few of those guys back will be huge. And Garrett's the key right now. I mean, again, if Clowney can't go, we know Takk McKinley's not going to be able to go. They need Myles Garrett in some capacity. I feel like I would be personally shocked if he doesn't play in this game. The only reason I wouldn't be shocked is because the last two are going to be way more important than this game. As far as, you know, their playoff odds go, if they lose the playoff odds, apparently in my mind only dip dip only a little bit. But I mean, you got to have at least one guy out there that the offensive line's got to be worried about. Again, I know the Packers have had injuries on the offensive line, but a great quarterback has the ability to neutralize that, especially with the way Aaron Rodgers can roll out to either side and create problems with his legs, even though he's getting up there in age. So, I mean, these guys are just going to have to find a way to step up, and Joe Woods is going to have to give him a little help because, I mean, with more or less your linebackers healthy, he might have to use a lot more blitzes, and he might have to be as creative as he can be to throw a bunch of different looks at Aaron Rodgers to try and speed him up, try and get him off platform, even just a little bit, because that little bit can certainly help, at least just enough, I think.
Tim Bielik and I are going to step aside, take one more time out on the other side of the break. Another voicemail of Truth and Reason, and we will also hear from Kevin Stefanski on Aaron Rodgers. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns, getting ready for a Christmas Day game against the Packers in Lambeau Field. Time to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yeah, I'm hoping someone in the media leans on this game with the Raiders. The last time the Browns had the ball and the third down call was one of the most unforgiving calls I have ever seen in my 65 years watching the Browns. The pass to the tight end gets 3 yards, 4 yards automatically 95% of the time. There was plenty of room for him to fake and roll out. So the coaches lost the game. Shame on whoever called that play, and it sucks. So that's my comment.
And again, we thank you for your comment, but again, that 95% of the time is negated significantly when a guy has had one practice running with the first team offense. And again, people keep going back to the third down call. It's easy in hindsight. Tim, I have no issues with handing the ball to Nick Chubb in that situation. An incomplete pass gives the Raiders offense more time to get into field goal range, and Daniel Carlson has a huge leg, as we've already mentioned. Yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What are your thoughts of the third down call?
I thought it was a good decision to at least get Chubb the football there, just because, again, would you rather go with your third-string quarterback in that situation, just had one practice, or would you rather go with your Pro Bowl running back who can break a tackle almost every time he touches the football, and anytime he gets it, he can break a big run. It's a pretty easy decision. I get what he's saying, but I feel like you'd be outsmarting yourself if you took the ball away from Nick Chubb in that situation and you didn't trust your Pro Bowl running back. Because again, if that throw's incomplete, then everybody's asking, why didn't you give it to Nick Chubb? Why doesn't Nick Chubb get the football in that situation? It's the penalty of hindsight that plays into it. If they get the first down, this isn't a topic of conversation. The Browns are 8-6. We're talking about a game where Browns could still have everything to gain, but really a loss wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. Now all of a sudden you get into this 3-game pressure cooker. It's just the nature of, not being able to make the play when you need to make the play the most, and that's kind of what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Again, everybody wants to know why Kevin Stefanski didn't run the ball, why he gives up on the runs when he runs and it doesn't work out. I guess the bottom line is everybody wants the result, and nobody. It's like sausage. You don't want to know what goes into it. Now we're dissecting sausage at this point in time. All right, Kevin Stefanski talked about facing Aaron Rodgers in a game that the Browns really need on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. I don't think you guys need me to tell you that. I've seen him up close many times when I was with the Vikings. He's supremely talented, processes information really well. Alex Van Pelt was with him in Green Bay, so Alex has good knowledge about the things that he does well, and there's a lot of them. But he's a special talent.
And it is actually on Saturday, Christmas Day. I completely overlooked the Alex Van Pelt being really, really familiar with Aaron Rodgers. So that's something that, if you're looking for a silver lining, there's a silver lining to facing Aaron Rodgers for the Browns.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also the Stefanski angle, the fact that, his Vikings have had to match, at least from his perspective, instead of trying to stop Aaron Rodgers, he is an offensive coach that had to try to figure out how to match Aaron Rodgers. And I'm sure he's got a phone call I'm sure he's made a phone call or two to Mike Zimmer because you look at the last loss they had was against the Vikings in Minnesota back on November 21st. So there is a little bit of if you're looking for hope, it's the fact that these guys have seen Aaron Rodgers plenty of times. It's not like this is the first time they've had to face Aaron Rodgers. They know what they're getting into, so they probably have a better idea of how to prepare for him. It's just going to be a matter of, again, who's available and will they have enough forces to be able to, if not stop him, at least slow him down. And something to keep in mind also, he hasn't thrown a turnover thrown an interception in 4 straight games. So if it's going to be interesting to see, can the Browns keep the turnover machine going, or can Aaron Rodgers keep his turnoverless streak continuing? Something's got to give on Saturday.
Yeah, and the Packers are one of the best in that giveaway takeaway that the Browns always talk about. The Packers are plus 12 in the turnover margin. Browns are plus 4. All right, when you look at this, we're looking at long shots anyway. What do the Browns have to do in order to win this game?
The offense is going to have to play its best games in Cincinnati, no question about it. I think they're going to have to pull out all the stops, get creative as you could possibly get with play calling. Nick Chubb's going to have to be tremendous. You're going to have to get a lot of guys back, from COVID. You're going to have to get Baker back. The only positive with him being out is he gets another week to kind of rest a little bit. It's not the rest, obviously, he wants, but at least, 1 week without hits should benefit him going into Saturday. But you're needing this offense to score because Green Bay, especially if you don't have the pass rush, if Myles Garrett isn't there for the Browns, Aaron Rodgers can score at will. And, I mean, in addition to those receivers, I didn't even mention Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, who've become a very good 1-2 punch in the running game. They can run the football if they need to. Aaron Rodgers can throw deep balls if they need to. The Browns have played some very good quarterbacks all season, so they at least know what it's like to play against one of them. But no question about it, they are going to have their hands full in Lambeau, and they're going to need a lot to go their way to win this game. And if they do, then you're looking at a very different, team going into those final 2 games.
Yeah, I agree. The offense is going to need to play as well as it has, and they're probably going to need to run the ball pretty effectively to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field a little bit as well. Tim Bielik, as always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Tim.
You got it. Thanks for having me. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Again, Tim Bielik, make sure you read him. Pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will continue to talk Browns football. J.C. Treader on dealing with some of those complaints from the Raiders. We'll also head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer on straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine and too late at night. But feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns, getting ready for a Christmas Day matchup with the Green Bay Packers. Time to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yeah, Cowherd, I don't know why he didn't, he compared Baker Mayfield to the other two quarterbacks, but when he was talking about win, lose, how come he didn't mention about stomping the Bengals and then beating the Ravens? It's funny he left those two big teams out.
Let's welcome in Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. And Hayden, to answer the voicemailer's question, that didn't fit into the story that he was telling about the inconsistency of the Browns yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we've all known Colin to be a little back and forth, and pushing his narrative a little bit of, especially on Baker Mayfield. So wouldn't take too much into account what he's saying about Baker Mayfield, but I think he's made some good points over the years in regards to Baker, and I don't take any of the that stuff to heart if I'm a Browns fan.
Yeah, I don't either. And again, the Browns have been inconsistent, to be fair about it. So all good. J.C. Tretter talked just about, we heard some of the complaints about the Raiders players talking about how Tretter, as the NFLPA guy, was trying to push because it was an advantage to the Browns, and J.C. Tretter kind of responded to that today. Here is J.C. Tretter.
Reached out to a couple guys on the Raiders. I think the thing that people didn't understand was I was fighting for the same thing for the Browns players as I was for the Raiders players, and that's to get paid. That's my job as president. I was elected by the players to represent all players. And I don't think everybody was fully aware of just how close those games were to being canceled. And I don't think everybody was fully aware that if canceled, they weren't going to get paid. Both teams weren't going to get paid. I think that was news to some people. And once they understood that fact, I think guys started to realize what exactly we as a union were fighting for. And again, I don't make decisions by myself. We had the executive committee, like I said, voted unanimously to make that same decision, which we went to the league to fight for. So we had everybody kind of give their opinion on what we needed to do moving forward, and we executed those goals.
And again, Hayden, for those that don't realize, NFL players get paid game day checks, which are 1/17 of their salary at this point. So those are huge paydays for the players.
Yeah, certainly. I think J.C. Tretter said it greatly, or said it perfectly. It's like, he's fighting for everyone. And if the Raiders don't get paid and the Browns don't get paid, then, nobody's happy, nobody gets paid. So it's a tough situation. It's a tough gig, to have the Browns kind of, dealing with all that. But I think J.C. acted exactly as he should to try to, get this game played. And I know that some of the Raiders weren't happy about it, but if they get paid at the end of the day and they won the game, I mean, it's pretty much a win-win for the Raiders. So I think JC does his job really, really well.
So Green Bay Packers head coach Matt LaFleur talked just about facing the Browns and on a shorter week than normal because the Browns game was flipped to Monday, so they got to go Monday to Saturday. Here is Matt LaFleur on facing the Browns on a shorter week and if it affects what they're doing.
That might play a little bit into it, but not a whole lot. It's just how you alter your schedule, how you alter your preparation, and get your guys' bodies and minds in the right spot to play a very physical, tough football game on Saturday afternoon.
So, Hayden, the way it shakes down for the Browns now is it would be like getting ready for a Thursday game, and that's tough enough, but it's especially tough shorthanded because you still have guys on the COVID list, and you're facing arguably the best team in football in the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough gig no matter what because, like I said, you have, a lot of guys out with COVID. You have, a short week. It's been just tough for the Browns in general over the last couple of weeks. So that being said, I think that, I think they have to be ready. I think that they will be ready. I think a lot of these guys are rested. They got Austin Hooper back today. They're going to get more guys back for Saturday's game. Baker Mayfield's going to be ready to go for Saturday. So they're going to keep preparing, and they're going to be ready to go for Saturday. I have no doubts. Their season depends on it. And, in the locker room, I think that these guys, until there's an E next to their name and they're eliminated from the playoffs, they're going to keep fighting no matter what. So I expect them to keep fighting, and I expect them on Saturday to come out swinging. These Packers are a great team, but they're definitely beatable. They're not infallible by any stretch. And, the Browns need to come out and play their best game so that they can give themselves a chance in the last 2 games against the AFC North opponents.
So we mentioned Baker Mayfield. There's a 10-day isolation period. Baker, by all accounts, has not been symptomatic. That would put him available either Friday or Saturday. He can travel without the team, like a private type of flight or commercial flight, however you dice it. But he can travel independent of the team and be ready to go. And that, if you do the math, it should come out where he is available to play against the Packers.
Yeah, he's going to be ready to go. I think that he's going to test out over the next couple of days, or it's going to be a situation in which, you're right, he flies privately and he's going to be there by himself until the day of the game. I mean, I think that's the great thing about Zoom meetings, that he'll be in every meeting preparing, the game plan, and he might not be able to run it all, but I mean, that's kind of where they're at right now. So, Baker's going to be ready to go. I have no doubt about that.
Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we will hear from Malik Jackson about facing Aaron Rodgers. We will also take a look at some ESPN.com's bold predictions for the AFC. Sports4CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Browns getting ready to face the Packers Christmas Day, Lambeau Field. Malik Jackson, very aware of Aaron Rodgers, works out with him in California. This is what Jackson had to say about facing Aaron Rodgers.
I know Aaron personally. I call him John Wick, so I know John personally. But he is one of the best. And you go in there and you realize that he is. It's one of those things that for me, I know when we play him, we have to make sure I do my part as D-line, and that's getting in his face, putting them hands up and making it hard for him to see and throw. And that's going to really take a whole defensive effort when you play a guy like this, sort of like what it took against Carr. Now about Miles, I don't know if he's out yet. I'm gonna put positivity in the air and say he's gonna be there, so then that's what it is. But like I said, I think we got guys that have been sitting here biting at the chops, ready to get out there and show what they have. And I don't think we'll miss a beat. If as good as Miles is, I think we got 2 or 3 guys going just as hard. It'll be good like Miles. So I think we'll be good.
And again, Hayden, when you look at it, he's also talking about going against Aaron Rodgers with what could very well be a depleted defensive line. We know Tack McKinley is out. Miles is questionable. Jadeveon Clowney still on the COVID list. So there are some questions for the Browns on that defensive front, which by all accounts is the strength of that defense.
Yeah, I mean, without Jadeveon Clowney, without Miles, I mean, that's tough. Hopefully you get Malik McDowell back at some point. That would be a big one. But, yeah, I mean, without Miles and Jadeveon Clowney, I mean, next man up is even tough to come by because, you're looking at Joe Jackson, you're looking at, at Porter Gustin. I mean, guys who really have not spent a lot of time playing this year. So it's going to be a team and collaborative effort. It's going to come from Joe Woods. It's going to come from the defensive line, linebackers, safeties. Everybody's going to have to play a part in beating Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's tough to do, but you got to find a way. There's nothing else you can do. You got to find a way, period.
Yeah, it is what it is. At this point, you've got a chance. There is a chance, but that chance involves going into Green Bay and playing what will likely have to be your best game of the year. ESPN.com, bold predictions. This one comes from Jeremy Fowler. 3 AFC North teams sneak into the playoffs. Anything can happen in the division. All 4 teams stuck between 7 and 8 wins. No one seems ready to go away. Let's watch it play out. And that's the beauty of it. And, I don't think I would call the AFC North weak. I think the AFC North is kind of beaten up on each other, and it's going to be interesting. Somebody's going to get into the playoffs, and once they survive the AFC North, I don't know that anybody necessarily wants a part of them.
Yeah, I think that in the AFC North, you're right. I think they beat up on each other, and the Browns again. If they get a Christmas miracle and beat the Green Bay Packers, I think they'd probably be favored in the last 2 games over Pittsburgh and the Cincinnati Bengals. So while the Browns, are certainly in a place where it's going to be difficult to make the playoffs, I kind of think that they can do it. If they can find a way to beat the Packers somehow, some way, you're going to be favored in both those games against the Steelers and the Bengals, and you got everything out in front of you. So I think 10-7 gets them in. It's just a matter of Saturday. I think that obviously the 2 games against the Steelers and Bengals, there's no reason they shouldn't win. But the Packers are a different story. They're a very, very good team. So they got to come out and be ready to play. Whoever's out there, they got to count on whoever's out there to give their best and get the job done.
So Matt LaFleur of the Packers talked about the improved play as of late. Last 4 or 6 weeks, they've been really good. And the last 4 games, the Packers are averaging almost 36 points a game. Here's Matt LaFleur on what they've been doing well last month or so.
Nothing that I can, pinpoint exactly. I would say that certainly offensively, it seems like the execution has been on point. Our guys are going out there playing fast, playing confidently. Still not perfect. It never is. We definitely have not started the best in every game. And then defensively, we just got to make sure we continue to get back to, when we were playing at our best. And that's just getting all 11 being on the same page, getting the play calls in fast so the guys can get their cleats in the ground so they can take in the keys that an offense may give them, and then just go trust what you see.
So, Hayden, when you look at this, what are some of the things that have to happen for the Browns if they're going to come away with a win, a much-needed win, Christmas Day?
I think, the obvious. Obviously, you got to play well defensively. You got to find a way to get to Aaron Rodgers. You can't let him throw the ball over the field. You can't let them score, 35, 40 points. That's the obvious. Offensively, you got to find a way to be more creative in the run game. They were not creative at all against the Raiders, and second half they did some good things, but they got to find a way to be more creative offensively, both in the pass and the run game. You're going to have Baker Mayfield back. There's no excuse for dumbing down the offense for a third-string quarterback. I want to see, like I said, this offense open up a little bit. This Packers defense is not great. It's good, but it's not great. It's not unbeatable. So. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing what this offense can do with Baker Mayfield back at the helm, and you got to kind of let it all out at this point. You do. You have to let it all out because there's nothing else left. You got 3 games left. You got to be ready to win them all, and you got to do everything you can to win them all. So I want to see more from Kevin Stefanski. I want to see more from this offense, and defensively find a way to get to Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how you're going to do it. If Miles is out, I don't know how you're going to do it if Jadeveon Clowney's out, but find a way to get to him.
And to your point, Jair Alexander, one of the best defensive backs, cornerbacks in the NFL, will not play. David Bakhtiari, their left tackle, Pro Bowl guy, he's coming back, but he won't be ready for this game. He's been ruled out. So 2 of their big guys won't be there. Let me ask you this, and I know the answer. I want to see what your thoughts are. If you are depleted with Miles less than 100%, Clowney unable to go, do you see, if you were Joe Woods, would you like to see them blitz a little bit more? I know it's dangerous.
I think you have to. I think you have to. I think that, letting Aaron Rodgers sit back there and have 10 minutes to throw, I don't think it's going to ever work out in your favor. So I think you have to. I think you have to blitz him if you're not going to have those guys. And even with those guys, I think you got to throw a different look. So Aaron Rodgers is a special quarterback, one of the greatest to ever play the game. And, I don't see where you can just let him kind of be. You got to get after him as much as you possibly can.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's kind of my thought is if you sit back and wait for Aaron Rodgers to beat you, he will. So don't do that.
He will.
Hayden Grove, as always, man, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it. Thanks very much, Hayden.
Thank you, guys. Have a great holiday.
All right, you too. Hayden Grove, make sure you read them. Pages of the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. That'll do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will be back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guest, Jeff Risdon from BrownsWire.com, Dennis Krause, who hosts Packers Roundtable on the Wisconsin channel in Spectrum World. So we will have Dennis Krause, Jeff Risdon tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We'll see you then on Sports for CLE. Have a great night, everybody.